Oh, dang it.
Hello, Frog fans. Welcome to Postgame Beers Podcast. We are the Lupton Drinking Club. I'm your host, Kyle Malloy, at YellMK on Twitter, joined by my co-host, the master of activities, Jacob Sailors, at JD Sailors on Twitter. We usually do this at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure your girlfriend, your boyfriend, husband, wife, your dog are subscribed to us at Lupton Beers. We are on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Lupton Beers.
And TikTok.
If you don't enjoy the content, we are offering a money-back guarantee for the remainder of the 2024 season. So hit us up if that applies to you. Jacob, do you know what TCU Basketball's record is since head coach Jamie Dixon appeared on Postgame Beers Podcast?
So I'm going to take it one step further and say we're 3-0 since he agreed to come on the podcast.
Shout out.
We are undefeated.
Woo. Is it?
Dude, they're good.
Isn't the Postgame Beers Podcast effect?
This is a good basketball team.
Yes, some are saying there could be some correlation there. Some are saying.
So you remember when we talked about basketball very briefly after they lost to Cincinnati and Iowa State, and I was like, man, they beat Houston, and I was hoping they could kind of take that next step and string some wins together. Now they're doing it, and it's not like anything we've seen in conference play from any TCU team. So it's pretty exciting, man. They got Texas on Saturday. It should be a packed house, a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm bought in now. Like I'm always very basketball agnostic because it's hard for me to buy in because they always seem to let me down. But I'm bought in.
I agree. Let's bring in our other folks. We've got a full crew tonight. Happy to be with everybody. Our producer, Crazy Ray Cartwright, is here. The now older and wiser Sultan of Stat, Martin Guerrero, is also joining us. Garrett Evans, the horse, of course. It's a full crew, and we're pumped about basketball. We're going to talk about baseball, but fellas, how do you feel about the Hoopy Frogs?
Squeaky shoes are fun. Dude, the craziest thing about last night's game, and I can't get over it, they had two different stretches, one in the first half, one in the sixth half, where they literally went 6 minutes of game time without scoring a field goal and still freaking won that game by 7 points.
Well, when you shoot like 60% or whatever, makes life easy.
So I want to say, man, hitting threes is just a very fun feeling as a Frog fan. I like that.
And
kind of a
Tech was very
good time.
Tech was very accommodating with that. They're not a good defensive team.
They're really not. They are not.
Meanwhile, they're not afraid to rip it from anywhere on the court. All they did was settle for threes there. So Tech is a horrible, or TCU is a horrible matchup for Tech because they cannot bang down low, and that's what we excel at. Mm-hmm. So that's all they can do, man. We're so long and athletic, it's impossible for Tech to do what they do well, which is like a bunch of, like water bugs running around. Like we just defend them so well, and they can't do anything in the paint against us. So, yeah.
Ray, you asked a question to Coach Dixon and talked about Steph Curry. Did that change the game? Does it, in terms of did that come down to college? It's interesting because this TCU basketball team isn't that great at shooting threes, but we're good at everything else. So I just find that interesting because I don't expect a lot of threes with this team. And then when they hit them, it's a surprise in a good way.
Yeah, TCU's never been known for their three-point shooting, although they have recruited more and more shooters. Trey Tennyson. How about Trey Tennyson? That dude can freaking shoot.
He's a weapon.
It's unreal.
Man.
It's absolutely unreal. The way he's hitting threes.
But MK, what made me think of that question was you see all these videos of like high school prospects and even kids these days, whenever they're out playing, all they want to do is jack up threes. Like that's the new thing. All they want to do is shoot threes.
Well, apparently they're not recruited to Fort Worth,
Well, and coaches want guys to shoot threes.
Yeah, so that's like the Steph Curry era we live in. Like all the kids want to show up and jack up threes.
Now, Steph
Which
Curry
I'm
is
fine
also
with.
good at
Which I'm
making
fine
his
with.
free throws.
Yeah, which I'm fine with as long as we make them. You bet.
I think
Let's go.
it's just the most efficient ways of scoring because obviously 3 points is worth more than 2 points. So if you're standing behind a line, you got an advantage there. And then the layups, it's all about layups and 3-pointers. That's the James Harden, I think, is more, the way basketball is going.
And you know what made me think of another reason? So last night, Tech fans were lamenting about the fact that TCU shot more free throws than they did. And I didn't have this thought until I was watching the women's basketball game this past weekend. And they talked about how TCU doesn't draw a lot of fouls, like they don't get to the free throw line because they shoot so many threes. So another reason made me think, oh yeah, of course, yeah, that's the reason you want to drive to the lane is because you're more likely to draw a foul. One gets their team in foul trouble, and then you're shooting free throws.
Yep, agreed.
We know everyone joined tonight to hear our analysis of TCU basketball, but
People are fired up about basketball.
We're going to pivot from that.
Yeah,
Damn right they are.
I'm just kidding. But we know that this podcast is brought to you by Hell's Half Acre Stadium Goods. Join Hell's Half Acre sg.com/Lupton Drinking Club. Part of that purchase will go back to us. So we appreciate that. Gentlemen, we are 17 days away from TCU baseball. How are you getting ready for opening day?
Trying to spend the downtime getting back in shape.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my main Jacob. Focus right now.
That was an honest answer and good for you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Slinging candles at the stock show.
Martin?
Going to practice.
Which one?
Now, is it you practicing? Are you out there taking grounders on some random dirt
I'm
field?
practicing watching frog ball.
Wait, for real? You've been going to practices?
I went today.
Okay, well, talk about that then. That's more interesting than MK's question.
No shit.
I'm kidding.
Well, I was told that they were going to play an inter-squad game, and I guess I was misinformed because I was there for like
an hour of Fungo and BP.
Who do we need to talk to about that? Yeah.
What's that?
Who do we need to talk to about that? Let's escalate.
I'll take care of it internally.
Let's escalate the concern.
I'll take care of it internally. But so I was told there was going to be an inter squad. I don't know if there was or not because I was there for like 3 hours and I had to go. But
3 hours.
Yeah,
you are a trooper watching baseball practice for 3 hours.
I mean, I saw a lot of bunting and PFP.
Ooh,
but
we love good PFP.
The vibes were good. They had the weather was beautiful. They had the playlist rocking, the jukebox rocking. Whoever had that playlist is going through their Zach Bryan and Tyler Childress phase.
Okay,
that's right up your alley.
Yeah, dude. And then they had a cover for Heads Carolina, Tails California. Love that song.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a good time.
Did Shania Twain's "Let's Go Girls" make it on? Oh, that's a banger.
No.
All right. So Martin is the either the most committed or the most bored of the group, attending 3 hours of a baseball practice today. Thanks for being out there. So we are excited because I'm sick of talking about other Big 12 teams. I don't know about y'all, especially Baylor, Cincinnati, BYU, teams that we don't really care about that much. But your awesome previews over the last month have been helpful to us fellas. But it's time to get into the fun stuff. It's time to talk about TCU. We're going to focus on the mound tonight. We have a lot of pitchers to talk about. And I think it's worth going through.
Of pitchers.
A plethora? Would you say a plethora?
Yeah, a plethora of pitchers.
Before we get into the 2024 season, we're going to talk about outgoing production. Who are we missing and what are we going to miss for this year? Jacob, 2023 was a challenging year. It was kind of a winding road through the wilderness until, we find grandma's house at the end of the tunnel. I don't know.
Yeah.
In Omaha, even, there were active debates on this podcast about who was going to start particular games in the postseason in Omaha. Like, we still didn't know. That's how uncertain everything was. But at the end of the day, we got to figure out who left us. So take us away.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, because you remember we were doing these preview podcasts last year, and we're like, this season rides on Cam Brown and Ryan Vanderhei. It was like not even halfway through the season, they lost their jobs. So yeah, that's two guys who are not going to be here anymore. But let me back up and just kind of recap. I just want to say, like, TCU last year, they were third in the Big 12 in ERA. So with that, we're losing 50% of our innings pitched. And, when I first saw that number, I was like, man, that's kind of a lot. But let me take you back 1 year before that. We lost 71% of our innings pitched. Guys like Marcelo and Halen Green and those guys, they were out the door.
Austin Krob.
Yeah. So when we lost those guys, that was 71%. I think that's a pretty abnormal year. I think that's a lot of COVID and fifth-year guys who all left at the same time.
Now, Jacob,
I went back. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Going into last year, we did have a lot of question marks about the starting rotation.
Well, when you lose 71% of your innings, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, who's going to be the 3 weekend starters?
Right.
But go ahead, sorry.
So going back a year prior to, let's say 2022. So 2 years ago, we lost 51% of our innings pitched. So with the data I have, 3 years worth, this is the most returning innings we've had at 50%.
Interesting. So because you started off by saying that sounds like a lot, and turn it around, it's actually the most in the Kirk Saarloos era. Right.
Yeah. And if I didn't have a real job and I had more time, I would have gone back and done like 5 years of data just to see. But I'm just going to guess that 50% is probably normal turnover. So with that, let's talk about the guys who are going out, and I'll just go in order of innings pitched. 12% of that 50% going out the door is Sam Stoutenborough.
Big game, Sam. That dude was amazing in postseason play.
He was, and I'm glad you bring that up, because looking at his trend throughout the season, what jumps out at me is by his 10th outing is when he started to really figure it out. Because from there, his hits per 9, his walks per 9, and his whip just was on a steady decline, which is, good. You want those lower. So Sam really figured it out. He was extremely key for us in that run we had, late in the season and going into Omaha. So, that's a name that we're going to have to replace. Cam Brown is the second most innings pitched.
Are you talking about last year alone or total?
Just last year, yeah. Okay. Just production from last year going out the door. So
now Cam, I feel like, is another one that really pitched well late in the season.
So yes, and I think we found a role for Cam. He wasn't meant to be our Friday night ace, which is kind of where we wanted him to be, because he had the talent for it. It just didn't work out for him there. So once we got him into kind of long relief, bullpen, or kind of spot starts, he really excelled.
Yeah, I remember the Arkansas game. Didn't he go like 4 or 5 hitless innings against the Razorbacks?
Okay. Are you talking about in the postseason?
Yeah. Or maybe he had a shaky first inning and then really was just lights out.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
I remember he pitched really well.
Man, Cam was one of those guys. He'd have a shaky first inning and be pulled immediately against Baylor, and then he'd come in, in the middle of last season and go 4 innings. He was all over the place. When Cam was good, he was one of the best. When it was ouchie Cam, it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah, he's a wild ride. But
when it was ouchie, it was big ouchie. When it was fun, it was big fun.
But Jacob, I think I remember you texting, or maybe you just talking during, Cam's outings, is, people would be freaking out about Cam Brown on the mound, and you're like, no, you got to get in your seat. You got to buckle up and you got to ride this experience because
Yeah.
Cam Brown is going to take you all over the place.
You knew what you were going to get. But his last 15 or so outings, he saw his hits per 9 drop from 7.42 to 6.89. Now, he was still walking a lot of guys, but that's just what you're going to get with Cam. But he's also striking out almost 10 guys per 9. So,
Like that.
you know, it's I would say Cam, solid piece, and I wish him well, but not irreplaceable. In fact, I would just say, like, even with Sam Stoutenborough and any of these guys, they're not necessarily irreplaceable. Now, there's some of these guys we're going to miss, right? Who would you guys guess was our third biggest contributor to innings pitched that's outgoing?
Garrett Wright.
Yep, 100%.
It's a good guess,
Ryan
but
Vanderham?
No way.
Martin got it.
What?
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
he did.
Because he was a starter.
Yeah, he had like
He was
would go
pretty
at
good
least
the first
6
half of the
innings.
season.
Yeah.
So he
Was-
had more than what,
was-
29 innings? I guess that makes sense.
He had like 49 innings.
Wow.
Yeah. Ryan Vanderheim. So, you know, are we worried about replacing Ryan Vanderheim? I don't know. Not
I
really.
am not.
Not really at all, honestly.
Yeah. Glad he came to TCU. I'm glad for the first half of the season, but
Good dude.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry he got
Yeah,
hurt.
happy for him.
You know,
I'm glad I'm saying it was great to have him, but
His dad's
Um,
really cool too.
his dad was great. Yep.
yeah.
these next three guys, I'll just read off their names and then we can talk about whatever we want to talk about with these guys. But then I'm just going in order of innings pitched. So Luke Savage, Cohen Feaster, Garrett Wright. I know Cohen Feaster's still on the team, but I have him in outgoing production because of his injury. Luke Savage is a guy I'll personally miss, you know, aside from just production out of the bullpen, but he was fun to watch, dude. He was an
the
entertaining pitcher.
ultimate Swiss Army knife for TCU. You could use him in just about any situation you wanted to. You needed a spot start, he's there. You needed 3-4 innings out of the bullpen, he can get you that. You needed someone to come in a tight spot, he's your man.
Yeah, he was so good for so many years here. And towards like the end of the year last year, things were starting to catch up to him. I don't know if he was pitching injured or guys were figuring him out, but he saw an increase in walks, a decrease in strikeouts, increase in hits, increase in whip. Like every number was going in the wrong direction for Luke there.
Is it
Definitely
weird?
battled
Is it weird that,
injury
like,
last year.
Is it weird that when I saw Luke on the mound, I felt more confident than maybe his numbers?
Well,
present?
do you remember my no, okay, let me just say his numbers were excellent for most of his career. It was just towards the end
Okay.
but do you remember my nickname for him?
Cool hand Luke?
Coffee table.
Oh, yeah. You
Comes into the game, you put
put
your
your-
feet up on the coffee table.
100%.
Yeah. Now, it sucks that like his kind of last memorable outing was Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all in all, good frog, great dude. Love to watch him pitch. So I hope he becomes like the Rangers closer in the next couple of years or something. I mentioned Cohen Feaster. He's out with injury, so I included him in my outgoing production. And then Garrett Wright is the next guy.
Love Garrett Wright.
And these guys combined for about 15% of outgoing innings pitched.
I think the experience that Garrett had on the team for the previous 2 years, that is going to be hard to replace, you know, regardless of the excitement, I'm going to say, when he came on the mound in the first half of the year. And then in the second half of the year, he became more dependable in terms of closing stuff out.
Right.
But you can't replicate that type of activity or that experience, right? When you're coming in at a very critical time in the game, and he did that for multiple years. So I think we will miss that for sure.
Yeah, and he was very good, and you need guys that can get strikeouts. You know, he had last year. His production was right there with Ben Abelt with fewer innings pitched. But it should be stated how good he was for us last year.
And you know what the knock on was Garrett for a while there was that, you can't trust him more than one inning. That dude was
Well,
a
he figured that out.
weapon. Yeah, there at the end of the year. Dude, he had
Yeah.
what was that outing against Baylor where he pitched 3 innings and had like 9 strikeouts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garrett had the last, let me just say this, he had the last outs in our Big 12 tournament. He recorded the last outs against Indiana State and the final out against Oral Roberts in that second win. So he was a major part of the team.
No doubt. And yeah, like you said, MK, we're losing experience and we're also losing strikeouts. So, I mean, that it's college sports. You're going to have turnovers. So it's not like these are devastating losses, So I'll finish it out with 4 more guys. Minor contributors. Mason Speaker, River Writings, Justin Hackett, Calvin Marley.
Mason served his purpose. He was
It's mop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can find those guys.
But it will
He was the best two-way player on the team
last year.
Yeah, after Hunter Toplansky left.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I will before we get off of Cohen Feaster's going to be a huge loss to this bullpen this year, being out with Tommy John all year. That dude was really good for that Frogs bullpen last year.
Yeah, but I think if you're talking about who does TCU need to replace, if you're mostly concerned with the bullpen, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, we're so deep. I feel like we're so deep that it sucks to have him gone, but it's not like an end of the world situation either.
Out of this group, I'll probably miss Sam Stoutenborough the most, just because of the bulk of innings he pitched and how good he was towards the end of the year. But I don't really have a ton of concern, with this outgoing production as a group. It just sucks to see some guys go,
One of my favorite memories in Omaha was sitting next to Sam's mom and brother while they watched him pitch. And
shout out Ann.
Talking about tears, coming down their face as he destroyed Virginia. It was awesome. A great experience, a great memory. So what an awesome time to have him for 1 year, for 1 year, right? All right. Outgoing production. We're going to miss some of those guys, and congrats to many of them for getting drafted. Cam Brown to the Phillies, Garrett to the White Sox. Excited to see if they can, produce in the next level. So talking about returning production, we have quite a bit more than normal, I would say. I don't know.
Right on par.
Yeah.
That'll
right
happen whenever you have a lot of freshman arms from last year.
That's what's so crazy about this year. It's funny. We talked about these guys that are leaving, and you kind of ask that question, man, is it gonna hurt us to have him leave? And it seems like the initial reaction from the group is, well, it sucks to have a guy go, but we're probably going to be okay, which is a good situation to find yourself in. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that the freshman class last year was so successful, and that is very indicative in this year's returning sophomores, the guys yet coming back. First and foremost, obviously, Cole Klecker. He will be a weekend guy this year. We'll talk about our rotations later in the pod, but
I don't know. I kind of look at Cole as a Tuesday night guy. What do y'all think?
Package.
yeah, maybe so. Maybe bury him in the pen somewhere.
Those are the scented candles talking, Ray.
Hey, shout out real quick. Shout out to everybody who's joining us live on YouTube and in the chat. Will Kobrick just reiterates, the relation of success to the youth last year. Yeah, it's like, we were ahead of schedule. And I think guys growing up last year is going to pay dividends this year, but just wanted to pay homage to that comment.
What's crazy is those guys had to grow up last year.
Exactly.
They did.
Well, they didn't have to. We could have just been not good.
Yeah, we could have been. We could have been a bad baseball team, but instead, that freshman class carried us through. And that's what's kind of funny when I was looking at this roster of returning talent and kind of where everything lined up. And so many of the guys who are returning, right, who we expect to perform well in this bullpen or in the rotation, these guys there's a lot of sophomores, man. So how I kind of tried to look at guys coming back was breaking it out initially by righties and lefties. So righties off the bat, most production in Cole Klecker. We all know what we're probably going to get out of Cole this year. Hopefully it's a lot like last year. Say in my notes for him, I just kind of put how impressive, he was overall. My most impressive moment for him was taking the ball on Friday in a super regional as a freshman. Dude was lights out.
Yeah.
It's a very cool story what Cole was able to accomplish last year. I imagine we're going to get more of that this season. Same goes for Rodriguez. He's healthy. Where he's going to play this year, we'll see. I know Kurt has talked about all these dudes, like 10 different guys competing for a spot in the rotation. But that aside, he's healthy. He's back. He's going to be great.
Is he confirmed healthy? Like he's
I think so. I believe he is confirmed healthy. If anyone can spot check me on that on the fly.
He was pitching in the fall.
Martin,
He looked pretty good during PFP.
There you go.
In the fall, I know he was throwing. I assume he is 100%, but he should be. He should be good to go.
Martin, do you have more information on that?
PFP. I mean, he was gunning it to third base when they yelled 3-3-3. But
I don't think that was his question.
What was the question?
Martin's bogging.
Just do you have more information on how injury in general, how he looked, all that stuff, whatever.
I mean, he looks really healthy, and like Ray said, he was pitching in the during fall ball. I think he's good to go. You know who he really reminds me of? Luke Savage. Like,
really, I like that. I kind of like that actually.
Last year, we talked about Luke. During his time here, that he, whatever position we needed him, either out of the rotation or saving games. Luke was put in that position and excelled. And I mean, we had similar situations with Luis just last year. He started 5 games. He had 3 or 4 saves.
Yeah.
So
I can expand on that a little bit. He had that stretch when TCU really needed the rotation to settle down, where he would go 6+ innings of near scoreless ball there for a while.
Yeah, Lewis, he strikes out more guys than Savage, but just from a pure eyeball test, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then the way that both of them, when they come in the game, they really pound the strike zone.
Yes. Yeah. I have more notes on Lewis, but I'll save that for our kind of end of pod discussion about where guys will fit in what role.
Yeah. So I think the most important takeaway for him is that he's healthy.
Agreed.
Where he's slotted, yet to be seen. But again, as we'll talk about tonight, there's so much talent that can throw the damn baseball on this team that, whatever coach deems is appropriate, I'm more than happy to agree with. Another sophomore right-hander, Jack Traeger. He will be coming back again this year. He played he appeared 7 games out of bullpen this year or this past season. Jax will be back.
Jax, fun fact, had a really good summer. He was running it up there at about 95 during summer league ball.
Okay, I wanted to ask you guys if you had any notes about Jax for the summer / fall.
Well, you just got it.
I just got it. So good.
Martin says 1 second.
He's muted.
Sorry, I was agreeing with Ray. You just got it.
Sophomore left-handers, I think are, in my opinion, the our closer this year, Ben. He's back. Is he really throwing a changeup? Like, is that going to be added to the repertoire this year? Can anybody?
I think
Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah.
February 16th through the 18th.
If that's,
I guess we'll see.
I think if they're going to stretch him to a starter, I think that's going to be something he's going to need.
Just want to clarify, we're talking about Ben Abelt. Is that correct?
Yes. Ben Abelt.
2023 first team, D1 baseball American, all freshman.
Phenomenal season last year. Phenomenal.
Yeah, just an absolute rock star last year.
Preseason All-American for this year. I mean,
didn't it seem like Tech knocked him back onto the track after that Tech outing? Like, he was lights out.
Yeah, he I mean, we talked about, freshmen growing up. I mean, pretty much halfway through the season is when he started. Like, he was all over the place about his first 15 outings. And then from like outing 16 on, it was just a steady decline. He took his whip from 1.65 to 1.33. Ks per nine increased, hits per nine decreased. Like, he really just got better and better as the season went.
I know we want to talk about him and Cole in the same breath because they're both freshmen. They both had a great year, but Cole seemed kind of ready to go as soon as he was, promoted to starter. He was successful the rest of the way. Ben started out, I mean, it was a little wild. We were not sure what we were going to get. And then he settled down, and it was all of a sudden like, okay, he still has this crazy windup that nobody can hit, yet he's throwing strikes.
Okay, I have a question for y'all. Does last year kind of skew y'all's thinking of freshmen? Like, freshmen are supposed to be like Ben.
Yeah,
and not even like that.
They're
supposed to be
let's get young
a
again.
wild ride, right? It's supposed to be up and down as they figure out Division I Power 5 baseball.
That's a good point, Ray. I think we wouldn't have gone to Omaha last year if it wasn't for our freshmen. It's a weird thing. It's weird to think how much we relied on our freshman class, and now looking into this season, the core of our returning guys that you could hang your hat on. I know we have a lot of really good talent coming in through the transfer portal and freshmen as well, or what have you. But it's just kind of funny to think, dang, like the core of these guys I'm super excited about. They're sophomores, man. They're Sarlos is freaking sophomores, and they already proved it last year as freshmen.
Now, one of the guys y'all haven't mentioned, he wasn't a freshman, but he is returning, is Hunter Hodges.
Yeah,
and he should be
senior year this year, right? I got him down as he's as a senior righty this year. Golly, it'd be fun to see what he can do this season.
Question for y'all about Hunter. There was a question about whether he would even go to the draft last year because he had that much, I guess, talent. You could say talent. Sure. But with Garrett Wright leaving, he has a very clear role, or at least hope for a role, to be that closer. Do you think that made do you think it helped his decision?
I think him not getting drafted helped his decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Good answer.
Go ahead, Garrett.
We've talked about Ben, talked about Cole. Yeah. You mentioned Luis and Hunter Hodges.
Ben,
there's a couple other returning guys.
Yeah. Other returning left-handers, also sophomores, are Chase and Braden, both of which are obviously expected to contribute. For juniors, the only one that, it sucked because there should have been two. One of them should have been Cohen. And with him not, being able to play this year, is it Cademan Parker would be our only junior who's going to throw this season. Now that we're assuming he's completely healthy. Do we have any intel on how he's throwing the baseball? Have any of you seen him throw?
Barton, how was his PFP today?
Dude, he was probably the best athlete on the mound today.
No bunts against Cademan.
Dude, that PFP was fire, bro.
But then you have outside of that, you have Storm as a senior. We've already talked about Hunter Hodges.
And, a healthy Storm. Storm hasn't been healthy in 2 years, and he's finally entering a year where he's healthy.
Exactly. So we'll see what he can do now that he is completely healthy. But man, it's the takeaway really for guys who are returning is the depth and health and talent of this sophomore class.
Yep.
One
Good
thing
stuff.
I know you mentioned Braden Sloan and Chase Hoover, Garrett, but I want to throw out there again that we talked to Coach Dave Long, the pitching coach. Those are the two guys that he specifically mentioned when we said, who should we look out for this year, right? Braden Sloan, Chase Hoover, both left-handed pitchers like he was, but Chase Hoover was his pick to click, so to speak. So I think those are guys that we could easily see in the Tuesday rotation. They might even project to pick up a weekend game if they're doing that well.
And he said he is scared shitless of taking Ben Abel out of the game.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Good
wants
interview.
no part of that. Hey, y'all. So Will in the comments brings up something that I think is kind of interesting. It's got my mind thinking. He says, everyone, including me, thinks that freshmen are supposed to come in and immediately make a difference. And that's in any sport. Has the success of like a freshman quarterback, freshman success in other sports kind of skewed y'all's thinking on how freshmen should perform in baseball?
What's the percentage of freshman quarterback that are really good versus those who struggle and have to figure it out?
Well,
we can cherry pick the guys who are really good, but
100%.
I don't think that makes up a majority of them.
It's probably more so in baseball, I would think, than football. I mean, think about Carson Bowen and Anthony Silva.
Dude, I think last year was such a rare year. I don't think
a baseball conversation for sure. And I think he's asking that because of how rare last year was, because of the contributions we saw. That's not maybe I'm wrong, and please correct me if I am, but what we experienced last season can't be normal. Like the amount of reliance that we had on a freshman class felt very strange.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's rare where you see so many freshmen get the opportunity that our guys.
I think that's what the rare thing was that so many freshmen got opportunities.
Exactly.
I don't think it's. I don't know about other sports, but for baseball, I think it is more like if you're recruited to go to a high-level program, I think you are more expected to produce when you're given an opportunity. We've had guys like Matt Pert, Cole Klecker, Tyler Alexander.
Or the entire 2013 team that made it to a Super Regional.
Like, we've had a lot of guys.
Y'all remember the 2012 team? It was all freshmen. We went to a Super out of nowhere. And then 2013, it's like everybody's back, and they didn't even make a regional. But then that group of guys went on a 2-3 year Omaha run.
I was kind of makes me think of so last year, right? You have Anthony Silva, badass shortstop, right? His counterpart down in Austin, Jalen Flores, looked like he was lost.
Exactly.
I love this comment from Jackson. We went to Omaha on the backs of Braden Taylor, Luke Savage, and 8 teenagers.
Pretty much.
And you know what? That's
Garrett Wright.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Garrett Wright. That's just hilariously accurate, man.
One thing that y'all brought up was that they got opportunities. I think the difference was that it wasn't opportunity. They actually succeeded as freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were good as freshmen. I mean, Andy Dalton was amazing, but he was 8-5 his freshman year, right? Like people struggle through their first couple years.
Trayvon Boykin,
Cole Klecker did not.
Dude, Trayvon's a great example.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not.
It took him 2 years.
Yes. So we had all these guys that not only got opportunities and played, and were like, "Hey, I can't wait for them to grow up." No, they grew the F up throughout the season.
Yeah, they grew up immediately, right?
Yeah, we pounded that point home so many times, but it's really true. Like their freshman year ended. Their freshman year ended the beginning of May.
Yeah, and I remember having the exact discussion last season about these kids.
Yes. All right.
In Omaha, I sat down with the Bowens.
As far as to close out my take on returning talent, it's Sarlos's freaking class, man. It's these sophomores. And they're
that's a great point, Garrett. This is Sarlos's first class as a head coach. I love that point. That's a great point.
and let's see what we can do because these kids are super talented. And I'd love to hear from the other guys.
Yeah,
on this
we have some
pod
help
about
coming in. We have some
John
help.
Dolores,
our
first
help coming
class.
Klecker, Abelt, Hoover, and Rodriguez are not draft eligible until 2025. Just want to throw that out there.
Love that for the frogs.
All right. That was a great preview of our returning production. Thank you, Garrett. And I think we're going to talk about those guys for the rest of the year because there's a lot.
I hope so.
Newcomers. By my count, it could be wrong. There are 12 new pitchers on this TCU team, including transfers and freshmen. Martin and Ray, I've learned that you conducted a draft to the death, right?
Y'all did?
Yeah.
You conducted a draft. Hey, first
hear
pick,
this.
second
We've fought
pick,
in text messages last
snake draft. Whatever happens, the loser at the end of the season has to, I don't know, run naked around Clear Fork. I don't know. We'll figure
Dude,
that out.
I kicked your ass in this draft.
Yeah, I punted at the end.
There's a couple transfers we will know very quickly because of their experience, their time on the mound. But I want to know where you guys started, and then we'll kind of go down the line. So, Martin, why don't you start with your first pick of the transfer/freshman newcomer draft?
Yeah, so in the newcomer draft, I picked the most obvious. No, I'm just-
Yeah, he did.
I picked Peyton Tolley.
What?
The 1-1.
No way. Not Peyton Tolley.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was. I gave Ray first dibs. I said, "Do you want Peyton Tolley or do you want the next two picks?" And I was like, "Dang, he's gonna pick Peyton Tolley." I was like, "Who do I pick next?" And he's like, "Oh, go for it." And I was like, "Okay, Peyton Tolley." So
Yeah,
just
that's because
defer
he
to-
was working. He was busy, so he's
Yeah, he
You
was.
defer to the genius in the text message.
yeah.
So we should reset in case anyone doesn't know. Peyton Tolley, a transfer from Wichita State, two-way player, really good on the mound, really good hitter, but we're focusing on the mound.
Yeah.
He's also a
so-
preseason D1 baseball All-American. They projected that even after he transferred from Wichita State.
Yeah, so last year he finished the season he was second team All-American for D1 baseball as the utility guy. I think that's like the two-way guy now. So he was second team All-American last year, and then he's preseason second team All-American again this year. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, left-handed. Dude, he's kind of scary.
Same, man.
He is kind of scary. Watching the PFP, sometimes you see some big guys kind of run like a shy dinosaur.
They don't want to get memed.
Yeah. Peyton Tolley does
A shy
not care.
dinosaur. I freaking love that.
Peyton Tolley does not care.
Does he have little T-Rex arms?
Peyton Tolley will run you over. So he's from the Oklahoma City area. He went to Wichita State a couple years. He improved so much his sophomore year. He had only 19 walks compared to 97 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. And so I think a guy he's going to get compared to a lot this year, I think just because of the overlap between his career and Jack Caglione, and because they're both, massive left-handed power hitters, and they're both left-handed pitchers as well. I mean, the guy who's kind of blocking Tolley from being a first-team All-American as a utility player is Jack Caglione.
He's the Golden Spikes favorite.
Yeah. So to compare both of their seasons on the mound last year, Jack Caglione had 55 walks and 87 strikeouts.
Dude, he was a walking machine. In fact, we were kind of chomping at the bit to be able to face Jack if we had won that first game against Florida.
We did face Jack.
We did, yeah.
Oh, we did.
He pitched what, like 2 innings?
Yeah, he kicked our ass.
But he pitched what, like 2 innings?
Yeah, we knocked him out early.
No, he pitched like 5 innings. I'm pretty sure.
Martin, before you get off the comparisons, and
Mhm.
we've talked about this before, but I want you to reiterate, why is Peyton Tolley not a good comparison to Luke and Baker?
So I think I guess it's a comparison. I just think it's a lazy one. I don't think they're that similar other
You hear
than
that at Kendall?
I don't think they're that similar. When Luke and Baker got to campus, he was a little bit more stocky. I think Tully is more has like a bigger wingspan. I think Tully has more game power as far as actually producing home runs in games. You know, you would think that Luke and Baker held our home run record, but he wasn't really that close. He was more of a polished hitter, whereas I think Tully has a little more swing and miss.
Question from the chat from Will Kobrick. Who does he comp
Question.
to in terms of previous players? And also he hashtagged him, or not hashtagged, but
So
added
if-
the Frog Thani.
If you just want to
Frog
go
Thani.
by, if you want to go by, just
totally has to be a thing. Has to be. Sorry, Jacob. Go ahead.
no. You're fine. I was just gonna say, as far as just career walks and hits versus innings pitched and career strikeouts per 9, he's right there with, say, Marcelo Perez.
Mhm.
As far as that goes, I mean, obviously you're not going to compare them as style wise, but production wise, Marcelo Perez, Riley Cornelio is in that range. Ben Hampton. If you stretch a little bit, it's Brian Howard, Halen Green.
And Luke and Baker on the mound was more like overpowering. He was more fat. He relied more on his fastball. I think he was a lot harder to hit, in the few games that we did see him on the mound.
Yeah.
I think Tully is more crafty.
I agree. So, and to back that up, so his K per 9, you said he improved from his freshman to sophomore year. So K per 9, he finished freshman year 6.7 K per 9. Last year he finished career wise 8.7. So he improved obviously, and his walk 2.4, which is extremely low. That's like Klecker range.
Yeah, he's crafty. He doesn't walk a ton of guys like Caglione does. And I think he added velocity over
Which probably
offseason.
explains the increase in strikeouts.
I think he has improved. I think his velocity has seen an uptick from his sophomore year. Like over the fall, I think he even is throwing even harder. And he talks about, I've listened to a bunch of his podcasts. He talks about that being a two-way player, and his process at Wichita State was more like, well, let's just see what happens and we'll figure it out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So he's still been figuring that out.
Yeah.
So I think the sky's the limit for Tully, honestly.
He does get hit a little bit, but with these improvements you're talking about, I'd love to see his hits per 9 come down.
Hey, Martin, did you think whenever we drove up to Wichita State 2 years ago that we would be watching a star?
Yeah, I did.
Did you think he would be at TCU?
No, there was this guy playing for Oklahoma. He was pretty good.
Oh, was it Peyton Graham or whatever? Peyton.
So we really can't spend 20 minutes on each newcomer, but
Yeah.
I think this amount of time is warranted for Peyton Tolley.
I agree. Last question for Martin. Do you think we'll ever see Peyton Tolley be a positional pitcher in the major leagues where they pull him in the 20th inning because they need somebody to throw at the mound?
They adjusted the rules on that, so I'm not sure. The MLB Players Association got involved, so I don't know if you're going to see that much of it, where they just pull in any random person. If
He might actually be a two-way player.
He might actually be a two-way guy.
Nice. Okay. All right. Great preview of the number 1 pick. Ray, you've got the next 2 picks. I am excited to see where you go with the transfer / freshman. Martin, what
Ray,
you got?
did you want to go back to back, or did you want to just?
I think y'all switching off is good.
Okay.
This is going to be like a Zach Morris highlight here.
Well, a lot of my picks I traded towards the end. I traded
For next year considerations.
yeah, for future considerations. But I did take my second overall pick. I went in a wild card direction. Y'all will, if y'all were to guess, I'd like for y'all to guess who did I go number 2?
Zach Morris.
Zach Collier.
No. I think you went Kyle Ayers.
Y'all, all 3 are wrong.
What?
Okay.
As I took the big right-handed pitcher from San Antonio, Texas, Mason Bixby.
All right. Let's hear
He's a
about
freshman this year.
Okay, let's hear it.
Mason is a 6'7", 220-pound freshman this year.
Jeez.
We have trees once again, and a staff that where you'll have Brian Howard down in that bullpen during games.
Looking at him straight in the
We
eye.
will have, yeah, right in the eye level.
Dude, this is why, like, when I was like 9 years old and I wanted to play in the major leagues, I wonder if my dad actually meant it when he was like, just got to work hard.
Yeah, man.
Did he pat you on your shoulder and say, little buddy?
If you just work harder, you'll get.
I wish
you'll
you would have
get
just
bigger.
told me, like, you have no shot. So, I could go, like, do other things with my childhood.
Really study that business, hit the
Yeah.
business books.
Learn the stock market, son.
Okay, here's an Excel spreadsheet. This is what
Yes.
I need you to work on.
Yes.
Great goal,
Oh my
son.
God.
Here's the scorebook. Try that first.
Or put a golf club in your hand.
Yeah,
Mason
for
Bixby.
real.
What? So he's tall. What else does he do, Ray?
He is coming off of Tommy John. Had Tommy John surgery his senior year.
Jeez.
I don't like the sound of that.
No, it's different now.
Yeah. It's actually not. Tommy John's not the big.
It's almost like a prerequisite now.
Yeah, I heard you
Boogeyman
throw
that
10
it
miles
is.
faster after you get Tommy John.
Well, that, and it's less likely you're going to need it. I mean,
Like Henry Rosengartner in Rookie of the Year.
That was a fractured arm. That wasn't Tommy John, but I get what you're saying. So Mason's coming off of Tommy John, but he did pitch in the fall.
good.
Limited as they ease him back in. He's a freshman, and I think it's, with this year's staff and the way it's constructed, you don't have to have high expectations for him coming
No,
in.
we can let's get through these guys and then we can talk about roles. But
Okay.
I agree with you.
So in the fall, he's about 93, 94. Easy velocity, and the coaching staff thinks that there's still a lot more left in the tank. They think he can eventually run it in there in like in a relief appearance, if 99, 100, maybe even get to that triple digit heat. He was the 26th overall recruit in the state of Texas and the 8th overall recruit as a right-handed pitcher in the state of Texas.
Yeah, that's either I've forgotten that or didn't know it in the first place. So that's good. All right, let's go to the next guy. Let's keep rolling. We got a lot of guys to get through.
My next pick was Ben Hampton. I think he's a grad transfer. I don't know. He's from West Virginia.
Yep.
Did y'all not do a snake draft?
We did.
He's got 1 year. He's got 1 year of eligibility.
Yeah, so he's from outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Super crafty lefty, extremely experienced. So in 2022 and 2023, he was, all right, let's see. 2022, he was 10th in innings pitched in the Big 12. He was 9th in strikeouts and 9th in ERA. In 2023, he was 7th in innings pitched, 13th in strikeouts, and 10th in ERA.
I know the answer to this question, but why would Ben transfer from WVU to TCU?
That is a good question. He did, he has pitched well against us in the past.
Dude, you talk about consistency. I mean, I have it up on the screen, some graphs, and his.
What are we looking at, Jacob?
So up in the top, I don't want to get I just wanted this to kind of like support our conversation because a lot of people can't see this graph, or these graphs. But if you look at like his whip, look how consistent he is. That's the top left graph.
Yeah.
And
Wildly consistent pitcher.
His hits per 9, his walks per 9, like pretty much his strikeouts started to dip off a little bit towards the end of last year. But I mean, it's still that the range there is not that bad. You know what you're going to get with Ben Hampton. Super consistent guy.
I wonder if that changes with Kirk Saros and Dave Long.
Do we think he'd make a good midweek guy?
No.
Well, we'll find out.
That really depends on how other guys perform. I think he's definitely going to be in the rotation. He's definitely going to start. Well, damn, we're not supposed to be talking about roles.
No,
but
really not.
Sorry.
Ray, can you remove that from the podcast? Can you delete that, please?
yeah, everybody forget what I just
I'm
said.
gonna boost the volume on that one.
All right, next guy. Damn it.
All right. So I actually, I went 2 and 3. And I picked Zach Morris, pitcher from Arkansas.
I love that show so much. And,
dude, Saved by the Bell.
Loved it.
That'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, I was a huge fan. Huge fan.
You were a teenager in the 90s, right, MK?
You know it.
I watched that like when I was like 9, 10 years old.
Golly, all these olds on this podcast.
You never watched Saved by the Bell for real? Is our age gap that big?
No, dude, I watched it, but
You're like, this is for old people.
I didn't know what it was until I saw it being mean.
What is this, Seinfeld, man?
Dude, Kelly Kapowski, dude, she's like the original crush. I'm just saying.
Who's that?
Shut up. All right, move on to Zach Morris.
Someone who wasn't nearly as hot as Topanga.
Oh, she's so much hotter. Kelly Kapowski is so much hotter than Topanga.
Kelly clears.
Hey, embrace debate.
Okay, we all know it's Topanga, but moving on to Zach.
I'm really interested about Zach Morris because, hey, big L for Arkansas's data because I could not pull Zach Morris's. It's just in a terrible format. So all I know from Zach Morris is how he did against TCU.
Yeah, so Frog fans remember Zach Morris fondly because we lit him up.
Sure did.
The 2 times that we faced him.
But please tell me that's not normal Zach Morris.
Zach Morris last year, ERA north of 7 for the year.
What if you take out what TCU did?
Yeah.
I should have calculated that. If I had more time.
It's probably closer to 2 or 3.
Well, you would have had a hard time thanks to Arkansas stat keeping.
With 20 runs a game?
His 2022 season, he did have a 2.31 ERA in 35 innings. He was a low strikeout guy at Arkansas. So in that good year of 2022, 26 strikeouts and 19 walks in 35 innings. Now, conversely, he was easily TCU's best arm this fall.
Yeah, that's what's, I'm really intrigued by this guy.
Hold on. Can you explain?
How just results wise? I mean, the dude was in a fall that TCU's offense just raked. Like every guy was scorching hot. Zach Morris was the best of our arms this fall.
Okay,
maybe second best.
Still,
right?
that's way higher than I would have expected.
So he had an over 7 ERA last year at Arkansas. Yep. What did TCU see that said, I want that guy?
Kirk saw his changeup that he threw and said, yeah, you need to throw more of that. You need that. He's 93-94 with his fastball. He also has a slider. He has a curveball he'll probably never throw because we know TCU's feelings on curveballs. And he has a splitter. And he's going to be a Swiss Army knife, I think. Well, we're not supposed to talk about roles again, but he's a guy that could either start for you, give you innings out of the pen.
We're already at an hour, Ray. Just let the roles flow through you.
Yeah. All right. Next guy, Martin, you're up.
My next guy was Bill Mosiello. Sorry.
Not Bill Mosiello. We have a breaking news. Hold on.
Back,
Stop
baby.
it.
He's back.
Breaking news.
NIL.
Bill Mosiello is back, baby.
I
I'm
can't believe he has
excited to hear this
eligibility
preview,
left. Let's
Martin.
go.
I've been looking forward to this preview. I want your thoughts on this. Is this
Coach
gonna
Mo,
be good?
no
good
Mo,
for Frog?
welcome to the rotation.
Are y'all ready? Andrew Mosiello.
Okay,
Bill's
let's
nephew.
go. Andrew.
Bill's nephew. He's from Southern California. Spent 4 years at Oregon.
Why?
He missed 2023 due to injury.
Oregon to Frog.
Yeah,
Pipeline.
he went the Brett Walker.
Shout
route.
out AJ Balta.
Yeah, Brett Walker too,
That's
right?
a callback.
Yeah,
Brett
I
Walker
think-
too.
Yeah,
Yep.
Brett Walker.
Yeah. So he threw 73 innings in his time at Oregon. He was a reliever. He had 81 strikeouts and a batting average of .212. He's pretty hard to hit out of the bullpen.
He's a hard
he
thrower,
looked-
right? Like velocity wise.
Yeah, I think he was like
He's like a 98
94.
guy, right?
94, 96 over the
Okay.
fall.
Okay.
Dude,
He
I think
was
I
pretty
think
good.
I think he could chew up a lot of innings this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on what role he gets, but I think he's going to be like a key contributor in the back of that bullpen.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Cool. Next guy.
Next guy, Zach Collier.
Oh, okay.
Collier.
Zach Collier. Y'all may remember him because he was a big fan of the LDC. He came out to several of our watch parties.
He sure did. Yeah, it was cool. It was like he's like, I'm transferring in. I'm like, man, I've never heard of you. And now it's like he's in consideration for the rotation. I'm like, all right, okay.
Wait, we drank a beer with Zach?
Yeah, well, yeah,
At the tailgate too.
at the College World Series
Yeah.
watch party at Heim.
I will
He was
say
there.
he did not drink,
Yep.
but we did.
He was at that
He
field.
was chugging water, getting ready for the season.
Yeah, he was in prep mode.
He was like, "Damn, I want to be a Frog."
I think his quote was, "Man, all they need is me."
I'm the missing
kidding.
piece.
I'm just
I
kidding.
can push him over the top.
All right.
You know
Ray,
what's interesting about Zach is in this era of the transfer portal, it's kind
JUCO
of you don't find JUCO guys, as Jacob just mentioned. Not a lot of transfers are JUCO guys. He's a
Not at
JUCO
this
guy.
level, no.
No,
He comes from
where is
McLennan.
McLennan? Where is that?
Well,
McLennan,
that
it's like
is-
Baylor territory.
That's where Cole Fontenelle came from.
Yeah, they're JUCO powerhouse
know.
in Texas.
Yeah.
Waco.
I know, but where the fuck is it located?
It's in Waco.
Waco.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the county that Waco is in. And you know, they are a JUCO powerhouse, and it's not because of their coaching, because their head coach went to Baylor last year, and we all saw what a dumpster fire Baylor was. But Zach's a good kid. He runs his he's got, and that's the thing. TCU kind of went out and recruited this year in the portal and with these transfers is velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Because a
Good.
lot of these guys are running it in, you know, like Zach, 96, 94 to 96, touch 97. He didn't pitch a lot last year for McLennan County, only 4 appearances, 8 innings, had a 2.08 ERA, and he had 9 strikeouts in those 8 innings of work.
Okay, for him to have a big impact on this team, Ray, what needs to happen with him or the team?
I think his impact will come out of the bullpen
Okay.
this year for the Frogs.
All right. Martin, what you got?
So my last pick is Blake Rogers. He's a transfer from Baylor. He's out of Northern California. He redshirted last year. He pitched only a couple innings at Baylor. I saw him over the fall. So he's a redshirt freshman. I saw him over the fall. He's got like a bowling ball sinker. He's a sinker slider guy. Really tall, 6'5". So guys are like pounding that into they're killing worms. That's a worm killer, that sinker. I think maybe it might be a development year. Maybe he steps up and he takes some of those innings that we're missing from Feaster, but I like the arm.
Okay.
Cool. Good stuff.
Ray, finish us out. Anybody else worth talking about?
Kyle Ayers, transfer from Houston. He's a bullpen guy. His fastball, again, 93, 94. He's got a good slider that'll sit around 80, 83. A curveball that is I don't know if you'll see it, but it 76-79. Last year in 47 innings for the Cougars, he had 53 strikeouts and 32 walks. ERA is a little inflated, but they don't play defense behind him, so that's the reason his ERA was a sparkling 5.74. But he's one of these guys that Kurt can take and mold because he is the pitching guru.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. That was
Is that all the guys?
It's not all the guys.
That's it.
Not there's a couple more freshmen.
How about some names? So we got
just bullet point list.
Colt Taylor, we didn't touch on him.
From Tennessee Tech, Colt Taylor.
Funky delivery.
A couple freshmen that are coming in. Do not expect to see a lot of innings. Carson Cormier, Holden
Had a good
Harris.
Don't know much about him.
And Jax Lewis.
Don't know much about him.
Right.
Colt, if you like the major league pitcher Darren O'Day, you'll like Colt Taylor.
If you're this deep in the weeds with Postgame Beers, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Jump on.
Don't forget to go to Health Half Acre Stadium Goods.
Exactly right. All right. So now we get to the fun stuff. We got projected rotation. We've got a couple questions to finish us out, and then we'll get you out of here tonight. So D1, do you guys want to hear the D1 projected, or do you just want to go for it?
I just go for it. We don't need candles shaping our thoughts.
Friday starter is blank.
All right.
Cole Klecker.
It's probably going to be Cole Klecker. But here is just kind of my point of caution here. With guys like Cole Klecker, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Like extremely low K per 9. So these guys can go one of two ways. Either they're going to regress and they're going to start getting hit more, or he's going to be Preston Morrison.
Ooh, I like the latter.
Where did Cole succeed to start the year last year?
Well, he was in the bullpen for one outing, and
he was
then
in
they
the
quickly
bullpen,
moved in.
But he was actually he was succeeding on Saturdays to start, right? And I think he got comfortable with that role until we're like, hey, we need you on Fridays.
Now, I love that he has big game mentality. I mean, we saw it last year, Indiana State in Omaha against facing elimination. By the way, Jack Caglione went 4 1/3 against us last year.
He also went against Florida on short rest.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I want to see him strike more guys out just to limit the opportunities of him getting hit around. Now, if he's still going to be a high contact guy, hopefully that contact is Preston Morrison style, where he's jamming guys and getting pop-ups. But I'm not saying Cole's going to be bad by any means. I'm just a little cautious with the low strikeout.
You keep going to Preston Morrison. Was he a good pitcher for TCU?
He was the best that's ever done it in probably the entire sport.
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
On your fancy little graph, there's also Tyler Alexander in that range, right?
Yeah, but with like half the innings.
As Cole?
No.
Oh, I thought you meant Preston. Yeah, Tyler Alexander too. So he could be that guy. He could, but it just concerns me if he's not striking guys out. That's all I'm saying.
All right, we expect Cole on Friday. Martin, what do you project on Saturday?
For Saturday, I think they're gonna go with Tolley. I think they're just gonna try to keep it as similar as comfortable or as familiar as he did last year. He was the Saturday guy for Wichita State and their DH. So I think they're going to keep him on Saturday.
Anybody disagree?
No disagreement.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I want to talk about starters as a whole and not necessarily what day they're pitching.
No, you pick the day and you stick to it, and that's it, man.
Yeah.
That's a fair I don't know. I feel like Tolley would book in the weekend with Cole. And then I thought we'd fight about Saturday. You know, but I don't know.
Either way.
Why not? Either way, why not? Screw it. If he's going to play on Saturday, then Martin, who's going to pitch on Sunday?
So that's a good question. So let's pretend that we're just doing 3 starters, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we picked Cole Klecker. We've got Tolley, who's our 3rd starter, Ray of the weekend.
To start the year? Because you have to think about, we've done these preview podcasts for 2 years now.
We're not projecting Omaha. We're just
No,
projecting
I
the
know.
starting rotation.
Yeah, just
What
to
I'm
start the
saying
year.
is, to start the year, we've come in here and we've talked about, okay, this is going to be their start. And then by the end of both these last 2 years, it is completely different.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
it's a little different circumstances, I think, though, because the last couple years we're bringing back, veterans that we just pencil in because of the year before. Like now we got sophomore Cole Klecker, we got transfer Peyton Tolley, we got transfer Ben Hampton, so on and so forth. So it's a little different circumstances.
To start the year, I definitely think it's going to be Ben Hampton as your Sunday starter.
Okay.
That just seems like such that's a Kirk pick, right? You've had in the previous years Sam Stoutenborough as your Sunday guy. You've had Brett Walker as your Sunday guy. Someone that's reliable on that last game of the series. Kirk loves that experience.
All right.
And
Isn't it cool though? Whenever you say that, like, oh man, I want to throw Ben Hampton on Sunday, but I also have Zach Morris available, and I also have Kyle Ayers sitting there. Like the depth that we have on this team to throw baseballs at catchers is freaking wild.
Okay, yeah, you say that, Garrett. You could go Ben Hampton. You could go Cademan Parker. You could go Luis Rodriguez. You could go Zach Morris. You could go Braden Sloan. You could go Chase Hoover. I mean,
I wouldn't feel bad about any of those guys.
All right.
To tie it back to the beginning, it's a plethora.
Can I start
it's a cornucopia of pitchers.
Jacob, for the first time in the history of the pod, you have been quiet as hell. So I'd like you to chime in on any weekend rotation guys that you want to throw out there.
In my ideal world, Ben Abelt is your Friday guy.
What?
I love
it. I like it.
I love it.
Because
what?
Just arm on the team.
Look, in a vacuum, I want the most talented arm pitching the most crucial innings. So with that in mind, Ben Abelt is my guy.
How do you get from a reliever for 2 to 4 innings to a starter on Friday night?
I mean, it's happened in the
For
past.
6 innings, so
you're super talented guys.
Well, Brian
Howard didn't stay in the bullpen. Alex Young didn't stay in the bullpen.
Haters will say he hasn't. It's because hitters don't see much of him, and that's why he's been able to be so successful.
Dude, look, okay, so I mentioned caution with Cole because of strikeouts. Abel's striking out 12 per 9. It's like, oh, his numbers will fall off. Okay, if he strikes out 10 per 9, he's probably going to be all conference.
Now he's Cam Brown when he's on.
Can you, real quick,
dude,
Jacob, you
and
actually
why not
came up
give
with
a guy like that a shot?
You came up with some pretty cool graphs, some stuff about the K per 9, also the whip, and the fact that I found it was interesting that Cole and Ben were so far apart. Can you describe the difference in that real quick?
They're extremely productive guys with 2 completely different styles. So
explain.
Give me 1 second here. All right, so this is a graph I made. This is career K per 9 on the x-axis. That's your horizontal axis, and then career whip going on the y-axis or the vertical axis. So you see Preston Morrison up here, greatest ever. He didn't strike anybody out. And then you see where Cole Klecker is, kind of in that same range. Now, way over here, you have Ben Abelt. He's in the range. He's kind of on his own a little bit, but if you want to stretch and say Matt Perk or Russell Smith, I mean, that's the kind of guy you're dealing with, right? And he's just, I think he's just going to keep getting better. He got better as the year went on last year. I don't hate the rotation as we laid it out to start this conversation. Like I said, we're so deep, but if you just want to optimize your lineup and have your best arms pitching the most crucial innings, then Ben Abelt has to be a starter. Now, if it doesn't work out, I trust the staff completely. If they find that the best role for him is like long relief or whatever, I'm totally okay with that. But if I'm just making my fantasy lineup, I'm putting Ben Abelt in as your ace.
What do you say to the people that we like, oh, you can't take your best bullpen arm out because then you have no one in the bullpen?
It's so much easier to replace bullpen guys than it is starters.
Plus, our bullpen is so, I mean, we just talked about it. It's so deep. If there's an opportunity to give him the chance to throw in his starting in a starting role, why not?
And they are doing that. That should be mentioned. They are testing him out as a starter. So they're at least giving him a shot, not saying, no, you're our bullpen guy. They're giving him a
He
shot.
was listed.
Do you want to go over the list?
One of the 10 guys. The 10 guys that were given a chance.
Right.
Do you want to name all those guys on that list?
Yeah, sure. I wrote it. I had it written down. Those 10 guys were Klecker, Rodriguez, Tolley, Hampton, Collier, Parker, Abel, Morris, Hoover, Ayers. So there's
a lot of guys.
That's a lot of guys.
That's 10 guys that are competing for a starting role with no decisions made, at least to the public as of yet.
This team is so good.
Dude, which is so wild.
Win the damn Natty, Frogs. Let's go.
So,
dude,
fun fact.
Guys.
So what you're saying...
Think about the previews we just did for these teams where we're trying to come up with like talking points for pitching staffs that are just kind of dead and kind of like limping by.
How much would Oklahoma State win a Natty with this kind of pitching?
Why not us?
Like, what I'm saying is, like, Oklahoma State
with their ballpark.
Well, you might add an extra run to their ERA. So what you're saying, Jacob, is this staff is comparable to that 2014 staff.
Well, we'll see how it plays out, but
I'm hearing that we have 2014 pitching staff.
That pitching staff was number 1 in the country in ERA, and then the 2015, which is most of the 24 staff, was second in the country in ERA. I don't know if we'll get that. I don't know if they'll be that good.
I'll take third. I'll take third all day. I'm just saying.
I think it is comparable with the other rotations that we've had when we went to Omaha, other than last year.
Yeah,
it's just disgustingly deep.
It's embarrassing. It's like, how do we have this many guys who can fill so many roles?
So D1 baseball ranks every position group.
Baseball at TCU.
They rank every position group from a 20 to 80 scale. It's a scouting scale.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So a 50 is an average, right? 20 to 80. 50 is the average. 60 is above. 70 is well above. 80 is perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
They graded the starting pitching at a 60 and the bullpen at a 60. Do you believe that's accurate?
Well, let me just give that some context. I looked at the other schools, and that's the highest average between starting pitching and bullpen. I think Texas got a 65 in starting, but they were like a 50 in bullpen.
Texas should get a 65 though.
And I think Kansas State had a 65 in bullpen, but then like a 50 in starting pitching. So when you take the two combined, TCU has the highest marks of any school in the Big 12.
There you go.
Damn.
All right.
How about that, boys?
Guy that you do not expect much from to start, but if things click early or later on, you could see him really taking off.
Man, that's a good question. I'll let the returner group pick a guy.
That is a great question.
Or the newcomer group, Martin
Luis
and Ray.
Rodriguez. But is he even like one of those like in consideration? Are you?
No, he could end up with a starting job.
That's tough, Rick. I think
he could very well be a starter.
Because I mean, he was lights out before he got hurt last year, right?
All right, let's pick a freshman or let's pick a younger guy because we just don't expect them to have much.
Cayman Parker was so talented when he got on campus.
Is that your Mason Bixby?
Mason Bixby could be that because if he's going to come in there with easy velo out of the bullpen, you can work with that.
Sure can.
Mm-hmm. You definitely
can.
But I like yours, Jacob, of Cademan Parker, right?
Yeah,
or even Storm Hairholzer. Like, I'm pounding the table for Storm this year.
Yeah.
The dude's finally healthy for the first time since really he's gotten on campus.
I'm going to wait and
he's
see
a freaking
the Storm, but
senior, dude. I'd love to see him be able to put something together this year.
I'm a little pessimistic on old Stormy, but we'll see.
Not me. Not at Ray Cartwright. Ray Cartwright is
let's take Ben Abelt off the table as the sniper of the mid innings. Okay. So he's either doing that really well or he's taking a starting role. Who fills that spot that comes in, the Trey Teakle that says, I'm going to eat up the 3rd through the 6th because we need to get through this game?
Andrew Mosiello.
Ooh. Chase Hoover.
So I'm going to go back to assume he's not starting, but Luis Rodriguez, a high strikeout guy, low walk guy. He tends to get hit a little bit. So if you just need him to face a lineup one time, that's where I like him the most right now.
You could also run Zach Morris out there.
All right.
I think he may be a starter, dude.
God, it's an embarrassment of riches.
It really is.
First weekend series against Florida Gulf Coast. Hunter Hodges gets COVID. He's out. He cannot close.
That's not a real.
game.
COVID's not real.
He can't close the game. Who's your closer?
Wait,
Florida
are you
Gulf Coast?
penciling Hunter Hodges as the closer?
I'm just
My closer's been Abo. That's my closer.
He's off the table. So who
That's-
else is it?
I think that's a waste.
Andrew Mosiello.
Luis Rodriguez.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
another
There you
good
go. I
one.
agree with Martin.
I agree
Yeah,
with Martin.
I totally agree with Martin.
Martin, point to Martin.
Coach, we talked about this. Coach Dave Lawn, the pitching coach, nonetheless, was high on Braden Sloan and Chase Hoover. Who has
Yeah,
the
that's-
better year? Who is the better year in 2024?
Shit.
Chase Hoover because he strikes more guys out.
I was gonna say
And-
Hoover, but man, dude, Sloan's got
Two really
that bulldog
fun
energy.
lefties, though, man. That's
Dude, okay. As the year
Lefty
went on
energy.
last year, Sloan was getting his walks under control, but the hits per 9 started to really, really go up. So that gives me pause on Braden Sloan. Now,
What was Hoover's
Coach-
home run per 9?
I'm gonna say Chase.
I mean, his hits per 9 was like 3 fewer than Sloan.
But what was the home run per 9?
I don't know. That's not. That's
I
not
like tall pitchers, and I really like the way Sloan has carried himself in fall. He reminds me a lot of Russ Smith, so I'm going to go with Braden Sloan.
Okay.
We've gone
I'd
80
be
minutes
Martin.
on the Mound Frogs.
Yeah, dude.
Martin, your final thoughts.
We're going to win it all.
There you go. Garrett, what you got before we sign off?
We are embarrassingly rich with pitching talent. I love it.
Ray,
Natty.
Jacob.
I don't envy the coaches for having the job to figure all this out.
Yeah, doesn't it?
like-
Okay. So, you know how Coach Dixon said he couldn't manage 15 egos? He wouldn't want to manage 15 egos. Like, how does Sarlos manage this staff?
Dude, that's honestly
With
keeping
all
guys
these
happy.
bulldogs.
Keeping guys happy is a concern.
He's cool as a cucumber. That's how he does it,
Yeah, exactly.
California
he's just
cool.
the man.
What a fun conversation. Thank you for
That
listening
was.
to Postgame Beers live on YouTube, especially to Jackson and Will and Johnny Baseball. Thank you for chiming in. We appreciate you being here.
You know,
Sooner, sooner.
Subscribe to LDC on YouTube at Lupton Beers, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see y'all soon. Next week, we've got the position
The
groups, the
hitters.
lineups. It's going to be fun. So we'll see you then. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs!